You excited about the Winter Olympics? We are 1 month away. February 6th is when the Olympics kick off. The Milan Olympics kick off in just about a month on February 6th. And we've got a hockey tournament that's going to start on February 11th. Now, a men's hockey tournament, I should say. Now, for the first time since 1952, Canada's Olympic men's hockey team will include no players from Quebec. The lone Quebecers on the staff are the assistant general manager, that's Julien Brisebois, and the video coordinator, Elliot Mondu. Now, since the NHL began allowing teams to send players to Olympic rosters, Canada has averaged 4 Quebec-born players per squad, and each year figured at least one goalie from the province. Even when the NHL did not send players to the past 2 Olympics, Quebec players were still represented on the world stage. So how do we explain the downfall of Quebec hockey? Let's go to Brendan Kelly, Montreal Gazette columnist, and someone that has studied hockey as a religion in this province with his book, Habs Nation. Hi, Brendan. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Elias. Great to be chatting again in another year. But, not a happy story. I mean, this is seriously cause for concern if you care at all about hockey in Quebec, which I think all of us do. It's a disaster. It's a disaster. I mean, it's like not one player on the Olympic Team Canada, the male Team Canada for the Olympics. Last year at the Four Nations, the little mini Olympics with 4 countries, Canada had one Quebecois player, of course, was Samuel Montembeault, the Canadiens goalie. But, I mean, clearly that was not going to be happening this year with the way he was playing. This is terrible. There was only one Quebecois player on the juniors team that just won the bronze medal, Caleb Desnoyers. There's something very wrong with hockey in Quebec. This is not a
what's
blip.
Wrong with it, Brendan? What is wrong with hockey in Quebec?
It's hard to pinpoint exactly, but it's not working. That's the simple version. And this is Hockey Quebec, which runs minor league hockey here, and it's broken, and it needs to be fixed. And I think, you mentioned my book, The Habs Nation, and I interviewed Jocelyn Thibault, who's a former Montreal Canadiens goalie and also Colorado Avalanche goalie, Quebec Nordiques. He was appointed head of Hockey Quebec about 3 years ago to try to fix what was broken, and he quit in frustration. He said, "I just can't deal with these people. They're too entrenched. I think part of it is different little cliques, but they're just not doing the right things." And what's funny about this too is so whose fault is this? It's the fault of the provincial government. Our good friend François Legault, who Mr. Hockey, right? He's always saying he's such a great hockey fan. So it all started one night, and I mentioned this in my book, one night, because my book is really about Quebec identity and the Montreal Canadiens. So one night during the 2020-2021 season with the Canadiens, there was I'm sure you remember this, There was not one Quebec player in the lineup. It was the first time in over the 100-year history of the Canadiens that this happened. And it was just kind of a quirk because Jonathan Drouin was off on that, leave for personal reasons. I believe Dano was injured with a concussion. So there was no Quebec players. This was like, of course, as you know how things work here, this was seen as a huge scandal. And so Legault says, okay, we're going to set up a commission to look into this. He appoints Marc Denis, who's a tremendous hockey mind, former goalie himself, who does the color commentary on RDS. Mm-hmm. Commission does what commissions do. They look into it, they do a report, and then it sits on the shelf. And it's funny, Marc Denis, as I'm sure you know, we listen to him on the radio all the time. He's on TSN 690, he's on RDS. Very calm, measured guy. He doesn't usually sort of hit out too hard, and he said that he's very disappointed the government hasn't done anything with this report. So here you go, they say, oh, we care, Quebec, it's our national sport is hockey, which it really is. But at the same time, you have this problem. And again, what it is exactly. There's all kinds of different views of what needs to be done. But you need to look at this from top to bottom.
But can I ask you, Brendan, because, even if the government had done something, you can't just poof, magic wand, now you have good hockey players. This is a story that's maybe decades in the making. And I wonder if you're pointing the finger at all at like Hockey Quebec and how they develop, because, per capita, I bet you Quebec has like the most hockey players in the world. So this is what's striking to me. We must have been doing something wrong for the last couple of decades to end up in a spot like we were in.
No, it's absolutely the case. I mean, I was reading a column from my friend Jean-Charles Lajoie in Le Journal de Montréal, and he was saying if the NHL players had gone to the Calgary Olympics, which they didn't because the NHL wasn't participating at that point, you would have had Mario Lemieux, you would have had Raymond Bourque, you would have had Patrick Roy in the nets. I mean, you'd have absolute friggin' superstars. If you look at hockey today, look at the NHL. There was another column in Le Journal the other day saying it looks likely that there won't be a single Quebecois player in the top 100 in scoring. Yeah. I mean, we used to produce the people that were top of that list, Elias. So it does go back. It does go back a long way. In 2010, at the Vancouver Olympics, that was the great year when
Sidney the golden goal.
The golden goal in overtime. The three goalies, Martin Brodeur, Roberto Luongo, and Marc-Andre Fleury, the three goalies were from Quebec, because that was the other thing, was that following Patrick Roy, right, who's arguably the greatest goalie of all time, right up there in any case, there was a slew. We had goalies coming out of our ears. Now we don't even have goalies. I was looking at one of these Quebec nationalist sites said, on besoin de notre équipe Quebec. And I mean, hey, why not? But you look at the list.
Well, in previous years, Brendan, like you mentioned, in previous years, you go back 2 decades and a Team Quebec, you could make the argument, would have been the best team in the world, right? No longer the case, right? So
and in fact, they construct this team. Who are the goalies? Samuel Montembeault? What? Yeah. Like, come on. Yeah. And Devin Levy, who a friend of mine said, you know what? I'd rather Patrick Roy today at whatever 60 playing in nets than Devin Levy. So the goalies are not there anymore. And I think there's something there also, because I bring it, I was complaining about the government. Bring it to the Canadiens as well, though, like when the goalies were being produced right, left, and center, it was because of Patrick Roy. And like as I detail in my book, the stars of the Canadiens for 40 years were the Quebecois players. So there, of course, were English players, but it was like Maurice Rocket Richard, Jean Beliveau, Guy Lafleur, Serge Savard, Patrick Roy, Vincent D'Anfus. Now the stars are not Quebecois. They have a lot of Quebec players. So is that sort of slowing the development that the people, and also the team was not very good for 30 years, is that making people less enthused about becoming NHL hockey players in Quebec? But it's an idea.
Yeah, and I think, we have to look at the participation rates. I think we still have a lot of Quebecers who are playing hockey. Maybe we need to do a better job. And of course, it's very expensive to play hockey. But again, those are issues that affect the rest of the country too, right? Hockey's not just expensive in Quebec, it's expensive everywhere. Brendan, right. I just want to ask you something political here, okay? Before we have to wrap up on time. And that is, and you're someone I feel you're so good. You're on both sides of the two solitudes, right? You're so respected in the Francophone community. Of course, your Habs Nation book was originally published in French. Can I ask you if you feel like Hockey Canada, even if maybe you look at the stats and there wasn't anyone who really truly could make the cut, should there have been an effort for the sake of national unity? Quebec is a quarter of this country, to have put a Quebec name on that roster, even if it's borderline.
It's an interesting idea. I saw something, there was a post on Facebook that someone tagged me on today saying maybe Hockey Canada should have a policy where there's someone from the West, like a certain 2 or 3 from the Western Hockey League, 2 or 3 from Hockey Quebec, because you know what? Firstly, in the juniors, we're losing anyways, right? We at least got one medal, but, so maybe you have to think about developing hockey too. So, because that would help the development here, because it's, because the other problem is the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League. I mean, they used to produce great players. They produce great players also not from Canada. I mean, one of the other things that I jumped out, Sidney Crosby, Brad Marchand, right? Both from Nova Scotia. they both played in the Q.
That's right.
And they'll be there again this year. Sidney Crosby, Nathan McKinnon, Brad Marchand, three of the greatest players in hockey. I mean, we hate Brad Marchand, but we would kill to have him on our team. They're all from Nova Scotia, Elias, a place with a million people. And here we are with Quebec, 8 million, and we don't have one player.
For Quebecers, you think you do have a Montreal Canadiens player. You got Nick Suzuki on the roster. Is that enough to keep Quebecers interested in the tourney?
They're going to be less interested because of this, I think. But, it's going to be pretty hot, right? I mean, and you know what someone said, which was funny, is hey, we could call Nick Suzuki a Quebecer. He lives in Montreal.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly right.
Does he have a Quebec Medicare card? That's what I'd like to know, Elias.
That would check the box. Listen, Brendan, I think you need to head to Milan right now and help in the construction of the arena, because that's still a question mark if we'll even have the tournament. But
totally nutty, eh? And it's not the right size. It's too small.
It's just unbelievable. They looked at how Montreal built an Olympic Stadium, and they said, "Hold my beer, we can one-up you." Brendan.
Yeah. Well, I can't wait to get that the roof repaired, eh? That's $1 billion well spent, right?
Totally. Don't get me started. Brendan, you have a great day. Thanks for coming on.
Okay, thanks, Elias. See you later.
Brendan Kelly, of course, from Montreal Gazette, and the tremendous book, if you haven't read it yet, now available in English, Habs Nation.
I'm Dylan Playfair.
And I'm Tyler Smith.
We're putting loneliness in the penalty box by talking to some of our favorite athletes about the importance of friendship.
This is Bromance.
Bromance is brought to you by Charm Diamond Centers, proudly Canadian-owned and operated. Charm has been part of your love stories and bromances for over 50 years. And you can find Bromance on the iHeartRadio network or wherever you get your podcasts.